May I request the chair to kindly begin the session?
Friends, first of all, thanks for inviting me here, and it's my pleasure to be here amongst you. When we talk of customer-centric and when we talk of bridging the divide through e-systems, so it's close to my heart that how different e-systems have really been revolutionizing the world, and India is catching up in a very big way in different spheres, and the government of India has great deal of good amount of initiatives you must be reading in papers and in different channels or in different media you would be coming across what all is being done there. And certainly when we talk of customer centric, it's very, very critical that e-systems are brought in place. And when we talk of e-systems, government, I would take this opportunity to kind of course, I would know, I learned that it has been spoken about, the EHR standards have been discussed, SNOMED City has been talked about, but I would still take this opportunity to bring out the importance for standardization in health records if we at all have to create systems which are interoperable, which talk, and through which seamless flow of information can take place. So in this context, government has already announced EHR standards, electronic health record standards. We are have also taken license for SNOMED City, that is the standard medical terminology and the clinical terminology, which is internationally accepted and which already has 27 members. We are part of that, and with SNOMED City and EHR standards, we create the base through which the basic e-communication between machines can take place, which would be very basic for actual sharing of data amongst different stakeholders, whether it is the patient himself, the customer, or whether it is one of the insurance agent or insurance company, whether it is hospital, whether amongst hospitals, between one hospital to another hospital. So that was the idea, that we create a kind of standards. So those we have announced, and we are also working towards creating what we call integrated health information platform. That is where which will be a kind of exchange for sharing information, and where we will create protocols through which the information about the medical records, about the health records of people can be shared. That portal, that kind of platform, one is visualizing at this stage. We are moving in that direction. But when we have electronic, when we have health records and medical records in electronic format, we also need to address the issue of privacy, because unlike many other records, health records are highly sensitive. In health records, you would not like, no one would like to share the problems one is facing medical wise. Why should he? So the privacy issue has also required to be handled. For that, we are working out a kind of we are engaging consultants or some of these institutes to take us forth in designing the privacy standards and the laws for health. So we're moving in that direction, and of course also taking initiative in the insurance sector itself, the RSBI VI scheme, we were to facilitate better customer experience. We have system of cashless transactions in hospitals, and we electronic system for making payments also we have introduced. So with these initiatives from the side of government, I would think that we would be kind of creating an environment and a kind of ecosystem, helping it create through our partners from insurance companies, partners from hospitals, service providers, and the public at large. So with this, we would hope that today that insurance industry, which is facing difficulty in establishing itself in a big way in the health sector, with barely 7% of health services getting covered through insurance. And if we take into consideration the government sector also, the public sector, then 15% which can really move forth and go up if the right kind of ecosystem and environment is created. So yes, from the side of government, there would be these initiatives, and certainly it is a collaborative thing. So it's very nice that this kind of workshop or seminar is organized, where there are people, stakeholders from all across, and there would certainly be very positive interaction, and certainly a way forward would come through. And of course, when questions come, then questions cause more questions, and then we come to good solutions. So those also in this session, I hope to really see how we move forth, and we also, and I also go back educated and more informed, so that the initiatives that we are working on, we would like to carry through. Right. Thank you, and with this I will request Mr. Nagpal to please take over.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma, and thank you for that excellent update. As the august audience here knows, many of those seated here have been closely involved in the development of those EHR standards that were actually done by a working group under FICCI's aegis for the ministry. Mr. Bedi sitting here was the chair, and for those who may not be aware, Mr. Sharma actually heads that part of the ministry, the whole e-health portfolio. And who better could be with us to chair this session on digitizing the payer-provider divide, because all this effort is essentially aimed at the interoperability and the interface and the bridges that would be needed for that very role. So we are delighted to have him as a chair here. May I also quickly mention that we have Vikram Chatwal from MediAssist, we have Manish from Religare, we have Mr. Chandrasekharan from the General Insurance Council, and Mr. Raghavan from the Insurance Information Bureau, and Mr. Segar Sampath Kumar from New India. A very distinguished panel of stalwarts on this subject, and we all can perceive this this area as being so important to the theme of this conference. We're talking about customer centricity. We're talking about enhancing value, and we still deal with paper faxes retranscribed by the third-party administrator or the insurer, and then sending an approval which is printed and again faxed back to the insurer, who again sends some kind of a paper back. So while we did a huge transformation 15 years back in terms of systematizing cashless processes, a good chunk of our work still remains on paper, and we are continuously converting digital to paper, back to digital and back to paper, with all the loss and friction. What does that result in? Have you, how many of you have met a patient who said that I was delayed in my discharge because of the pre-authorization or coming in late before I could be relieved? Just these many? I don't think anybody of us who's ever dealt with insurance has not had that experience. And if it is that an experience that concerns each of us, what a better theme to talk about digitizing, bridging the payer-provider divide, and creating something that reduces the friction and improves the value for ultimately the person that we are here to serve. Whether we are hospitals or we are insurers, unless our insured, unless our patient is happy with our processes in a country that is supposed to be at the center stage of the IT revolution in the world, if we have not been able to digitize that process adequately in the last 15 years, it's something that is about time we take notice. And we are delighted to have this panel to take on that discussion. So
That's the best way to answer that question or set the tone for this conversation is two illustrative examples. One, Sabre and American Airlines in the 70s started a universal ticketing system that was only proprietary to American Airlines, is today the basis of all ticketing everywhere in the world. What it did was it forgot about how the airlines operated, but it kind of brought together at least one common language or one common template of how they would at least ticket or ensure that they sold capacity, each other's capacity. That became the universal standard. DIACOM, again, is a template of the same use. And DIACOM came about by saying various imaging modalities across the globe throw up different types of imaging standards. DIACOM was unique to one vendor. DIACOM today as an imaging standard is universal. And nobody necessarily questions DIACOM anymore. In the hospital situation, the problem's a little harder in our country. And let's not get into what the core billing systems in hospitals are. I think they're pretty rudimentary. They're focused on putting together or generating a bill, a line item of chargeable services to a patient. They're not focused on capturing clinical data. They're not focused and they're not necessary from a bill generation perspective. You really don't know, you don't need to know what you've done with the patient on the a bedside care. You don't need to know anything about the point of care. All you need to know is about whether you captured the charge or not. The rest of the world solved for this in two ways. One, that patients went home within 20 minutes at discharge because they could trace the individual and collect from the individual in case the payer, which is the insurer, did not pay the whole amount. So there was an easy traceable format to go back to the individual and say, "Aapka itna paisa bach gaya ji, वापस दे दीजिए." In our world, tracing that individual is hard, so you move everything to the to the insurer and you say, "Mr. Insurer, you must pay." And that's where in lies the challenge, because stuff is thrown at us and you're supposed to make decisions in a fraction of a day, and then you have to actually decide whether you're going to pay all of it, some of it, or none of it. And so if we had a simpler solution and forgot the hospitals, this will be an easy way, as long as we can radio tag the individual to make sure, or his or her bank account. That doesn't happen. So what's the alternative to doing that? The Western world thought about it and said, okay, let's build archaic systems. Let's start by a charge capture form that a doctor filled up. The charge capture form came to the medical transcription industry, and India was 20 years ago the hub of medical transcription. All of us were transcribing data for the rest of the world. And then the transcription went into a billing company, and the billing company created different types of bills that went to more than one insurer or one insurer. And that was a long process. That costs 30 cents to the dollar. For every dollar spent in healthcare, at least in North America today, 30 cents to that dollar is spent just doing this. I don't think a country like us can afford it, so I think the EMR, EHR standards are core to the way we think about it. But the question then arises is, where do you generate that data? Do you generate that data at the point of care on the bedside? Or do you actually generate that data at a layer above at the hospital where stuff is being thrown out? So do you build platforms? Do you go out there and say, is there a core platform that allows you to build this exchange? Or do you actually go back to the hospital and start telling hospitals that you need to capture clinical data? And I think trying to capture clinical data is like the Holy Grail. Not everybody is going to be able to get there tomorrow morning, but you still need them to bill. And so the question is, and I think it's an open debate, and I think I've said enough for now to kind of set the conversation.
Vikram, thank you. I'll pass on to Manish, but I leave you pondering over two questions. Why is it that my checkout at the hotel can still happen in 5 minutes and nobody is worried about tracing the patient, even if it is a bill to company bill? And why is it that if the hospitals only focus on billing, why can't they still sort it out only for that billing piece? Because the friction is around the billing piece. So I'll just leave you pondering on those questions while I go back to Manish.
Thank you, Dr. Nagpal. Good evening, everyone. Just to start with, as Dr. Nagpal said, the bottlenecks in the process today, I think the biggest bottleneck is the paper trail that we start the process with. Even today, we use faxes and emails to transfer data between the provider and the insurer, and at most times this leads to lack of transparency in the process, breakdown of communication between all the three stakeholders, and leads to, I believe, bad customer service at most times, because not each one of us struggles to know where this transaction lies, which leads to status of the transaction not known at most times. The other problem that leads to this is it increases cost of processing, it hampers productivity both at the provider end as well as the insurer end, but it also results into, I think, as I started with, really it hampers customer service, where the customer is pending at discharge or wants to get admitted into the hospital, but between the payer and the insurer and the provider, we're still struggling to know where has he faxed and have I received, or have I faxed back and has he received or not. So I think that is the biggest problem. Then it also starts with the payments process, which brings a lack of trust between the provider and the insurer, because the provider then sends the physical bill back to us, and we would then wait for the physical bill to come, which again leads to delays in dispatch, delays in payment, which builds up a lot of mistrust between the provider and the insurer at most times. So I think these are the key bottlenecks which we need to address through technological advances.
Thank you, Manish. I think we're getting a fairly good sense of the problem statement, and Vikram, while I asked you those questions to ponder over in jest, I fully relate to that fact. The not being able to trace the patient is hospital while the billing aspect is settled. But do you have any thoughts before I move on to the next piece?
Maybe I will keep it to the end.
So, there is clearly a problem.
Sorry to disturb you here. I would like to add some few points. Sir, here. This is Dr. Krishna Jaiswal, MD of Ericsson TPA. As this matter came on the TPA, so I thought let me discuss on this point.
We'll have time for the audience. Can I just finish this round and then we'll have it open?
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
So let's just complete the theme that we are trying to do, build the case, and then we are very happy to discuss. We'll make sure there's time to discuss. I'll move my angle a little to the insurer side here, and this is the part at which the payer faces the brunt of at least the allegation. In the morning, somebody was mentioning that because the insurer is not in the room, it is easy to pass on the blame to the insurer. And I would not say that the blame lies either way or the other, but to me the question is that there is this issue with digitization and there is this trust deficit that is getting created. And what do you think is the industry's perspective on bridging it, and how digitization will help? So, Mr. Chandrasekhar and Mr. Sagar Sampath, after him, just to understand your perspective on it.
Thank you, Saumil. And let me start by saying, oh, not working?
It's okay. Just once more. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Let me start by saying that when we started the product, we kept it very simple. Whatever justifiably, reasonably incurred will be reimbursed. That's how we started the product as early as 1980s. When we moved on and every technology, every sphere of life got into the technology mode, and people wanted to go in for more and more details, the insurers were definitely handicapped in not exactly assessing what is reasonably and justifiably payable. That's how the TPS came in to help the insurance industry. And as they came in, and the medical science, medical issues, complications went ahead, and people started realizing the benefit of the health insurance when they found the policy terms and conditions did not keep up pace with or we started interpreting it differently. They thought the health insurance policy I have taken, I should get the claim. And I should get the claim, whatever is the amount. The question of, as what Chairman was mentioning, the indemnity principle, which we were taught earlier, is completely lost sight of here by the insured, because he believes that whatever I spend, I should get, number one. And number two, just because I paid for 10 years, the 11th year, if I don't get it, I should get a reduction in premium also, increase in sum insured also. And so, the perception of the health insurance, from a pure health insurance point of view, it moved away from that to it is a benefit which I am expecting to cover my, assure myself of healthcare cost, reimbursement. So this, when this expectation came, we came into the issue of whether information that is coming in for making that claim is correct or wrong. Lot of suspicion, lot of trust deficit started coming in between the insured, provider, payer, hospitals. Whether we do not know. We are not in the business of hospitals, we are not in the business of treating them, and therefore whatever that comes on paper is what we used to evaluate. This is the therefore what we expect in the digitally we are going to connect. We have to connect the identity of the person who is going to claim. We have to connect the identity of the hospital which physically exists, because we have suspicion. Many cases of frauds have come where hospitals did not exist. So therefore, we need that this particular connectivity to establish the true genuine claimant, genuine payer, the provider who is actually providing the service. And ultimately, as Chairman was mentioning in the morning, is a pool. We collect the premium from 100 people and pay the claim of 6. So if all the 100 people should get the benefit of an affordable health insurance scheme, health insurance, then the cost of those 6 people should be reasonable. And therefore, those 6 people should be able to know, for a particular procedure, I will get it cheaper here in a hospital which is 5 kilometers away, or I will get it cheaper 500 kilometers away in some other city, and therefore, will he be in a position to move there quickly, or depending upon their situation, get a lower cost for his treatment, and thereby he can also compare the facility, he can compare the, therefore, the trust that we want to build between the insured and the insurer depends on how seamlessly we actually bring in the hospital data, the insured data, the identity of both of them, to make sure it's a genuinely made claim, and as if he was uninsured, he has acted, and then he's coming and claiming for me. And that's where we really need this digital bridge between the insurer, insured, and the provider. So I believe the single most benefit that the industry would get, insurance industry would get, is their image will go up, that they are settling claims today, but still getting the bricks. They will settle the claim and they will get bouquets. These are my initial remarks. As we go on, we'll expand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekharan. May I request Mr. Sampath?
Yeah. See, to me, it is not about digitizing the divide. We need to digitize the entire healthcare value system, value delivery. But right now, in the absence of a federal regulator, I don't know who is going to do it. I personally feel the industry, the insurance industry, has to drive some of it. In fact, the health regulations have stipulated standard discharge summary, standard billing format, and a standard pre-auth request. But some of these things cannot be complied with. I think we can go ahead. In fact, it can become a condition of empanelment. The General Insurance Council, the regulator, IIB, and the entire insurance industry can slowly usher in this change. It is for better transactional efficiency, more better claim service. It can happen because we are looking at multiple stakeholders, multiple entities. I don't think this is the way forward for insurance to really address this issue. It has to be done by this industry, the insurance industry, and I am sure in the days to come, the regulator, IIB, and the council will play a very, very important role. A lot of need for standardization too, which could also happen. For instance, ICD code. I mean, the way they are being documented, either at the provider level or at the TPA level. I mean, lot of disconnect is happening. There has to be some rigor brought into the system. In fact, how far it could be developed indigenously is also something to be thought of. There would be hardly around 800 to 1,000 procedures which would constitute almost 90% of the outgo. If we can bring in, I think Mr. Raghavan and the organization he heads can do a great job in standardizing all these things, which should develop a lot of efficiency in the days to come.
Thank you, Mr. Sampath. Thank you. So you already sort of made a segue for me to ask Mr. Raghavan about what his organization does really intend to do. And before I just give the floor to him, I must also mention that what his organization has already done in what Chairman IRDA mentioned this morning as his pet project, something very close to many of us, something which we all have been waiting for many years, the hospital ID database, which he calls Rohini. And I see Rohini as not only the launch vehicle for some of our best IT investments, but also the driver of the economy is the Rohini Nakshatra, the time in summers when if it is hot, it leads to more monsoons. So there are two Rohinis that we are all very involved in. Let's hear about the third one and how that can be a building block for this digitization. Over to Mr. Raghavan.
Thank you, Somil. Thanks for the very flourishing introduction. I'll supplement whatever I'm going to say now with a small video clip, which I think my assistants on the days would help me to do. Before I do that, when you look at the supply chain from the provider to the payer, the provider can be perhaps the hospital, any other diagnostic institution. The payer could be directly the patient who suffered the ailment or the insurer. But then we find, using the principles of lever in physics, it's a second order lever where the fulcrum, power and object, these are the three parts of a lever. So you have the hospital, which is the delivery center, which is the point of care, at the fulcrum of the whole process of the supply chain of healthcare. In that perspective, when we attempted, IIBM of course is an organization promoted by the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, and we are an independent body also and done, and currently we carry out insurance analytics. We are the only one who is authorized to collect data on all insurance. Every single policy, life or non-life issued in this country resides in our database, and every single claim, non-life or lives, settled in this country resides in our database. We have a humongous database, almost 100 crore non-life data points and about 40 crore life insurance policy points every year. Now, for us, analytics became kind of a huge nightmare for the lack of standards. Mr. Sampath mentioned standards. The whole universe works by standards. Maybe it's a universe by design of whoever it might be. The planets have a frequency, the planets have an orbit. If you transcend all this from the metaphysical stuff and move down to reality, you and me have a name. If you don't have a name right from the school stage, we are nobody. And therefore what happens is, in a simple thing as the hospital identity, which was a very critical element in our analytics, it was a tag with the help of which we do a lot of geography-based, gender-based, demography-based, disease-based kind of analytics. It was a huge challenge for us because we had only access to the claims which were settled in this country, claims which are settled by the insurers directly or through the TPAs, and these being healthcare delivery points, there was a cost element, and therefore when we wanted to do all kinds of analysis, the huge challenge was every single hospital, even a reputed corporate hospital, had 5 or 10 variants. A JASLO could have JASLOK, JASLOKH, because all this happens because there is no machine-to-machine speak, and when a manual intervention takes place in converting the physical paper data into electronic data, the whole thing goes for a toss. So, believe me or not, we started off with almost around 200,000 hospitals in this country where, with the, Honorable Joint Secretary being beside us, I'm quite sure the government would not accept that there are 200,000 hospitals in this country, by any stretch of imagination. So we had a huge amount of burning the midnight oil exercise, and month after month, it was almost 2 years before we could boil down with the various technology-based or non-technology-based kind of deduplication. We came up with the hospital mastered version 1.0, then 1.01, 2.0. Finally, we are now in a position, we are proud to announce that what we passionately called as Rohini, which expands as Registry of Hospitals and Network of Insurance, okay, that was launched by the IRDA chairman on Monday. And this, with all humility we can say, I mean, we are using the catchphrase also in the video. Ladies and gentlemen, believe me, this will become the Aadhaar of healthcare providers in this country. We have just made a baby step. There's going to be a giant leap possible. Just watch the video, I think that will explain. And then this is going to have a cascading effect. It's going to affect everything and anything which has something to do with the healthcare industry. Okay? On one hand, we have the identity, subject to whatever Joint Secretary Saab said, the privacy being preserved, an ID of an individual, his or her electronic health records. You have the payment process, everything digitized is possible with this kind of a small step we have made. Just watch the video. Can you? Yeah.
So there is a snag. I'm
trying
to make it. So volume need also.
Meanwhile, pass this on to us. This is what we released on last Monday.
Like we are in the process of assigning unique numbers each health facility assignment, and we put forward to private companies for November.
We have about 33,000.
You said 2 lakhs out of that 33 lakhs.
Certainly.
You said there are 200,000.
A whopping 20,000 crore rupees.
Boil down to 33,000 after deduplication. We have begun. We have to enroll.
Premium for the financial year 2014-15. That's the size of the health insurance industry in India, including some government schemes. It accounts for almost 1/4 of the non-life insurance market. A huge market serving for the benefit of policyholders, with stakeholders like hospitals and TPAs forming a very important part in supporting the healthcare financing efforts of the insurance industry. But here is a problem.
What's the problem?
There is a problem. No, it was part of the plan. So the whole system breaks down if you don't have standards, right?
Would you like to give another copy of the DVD? So that
Yeah, I do have one.
that's better. I don't know whether it got corrupted or anything.
Maybe it requires a high-end laptop or no?
Would you like to take another copy?
Doesn't open?
Even digitally is also a problem.
Yeah. Fine, I'll carry on. Apologies. So these were again standards or a dire need. See, what happens is what we have done is we have got enrolled on our own something around 32,562 hospitals, and now the channel is open. We have launched a portal called Rohini, rohini.iib.gov.in. Hospitals which are already enrolled, they will be asked to register, providing all details about the facility, the specialities, etc., etc. Hospitals which are not enrolled as of now will be given a voluntary option to enroll, and even if they are sponsored by a TPA or a insurer, that's possible. Only thing is we are trying to put this all through a credential verification process, which the general insurance industry has agreed to support us with. They will nominate nodal officers, and on that basis, we'll be able to have a physical verification of whatever is claimed by the hospitals. So the process is now on, the portal is now open, and we hope that with the kind of unique ID which can be tagged to each hospital, the entire supply chain can be tagged, from the patient admission, patient treatment, patient billing, and then of course, the transaction onwards with either the TPA or the insurance company, and you will find the DNA of the hospital traveling throughout the supply chain. So this is the beginning. We have quite a few ideas, and we also think that at some point of time, we are providing, in fact, one of the major problems for the insured person is that he may be employed in the organized sector and he may be given a health card by the employer, which is again issued by a provider like a insurer or a TPA. But when he is or she is in a problem for a particular ailment, particularly of a serious nature, the most important thing which matters to him or his relatives is which hospital or which kind of hospitals which were located will help him to get admitted with the cashless on the base of this health card. So we are providing through this portal a public search facility also. Suppose you have a let's say a kidney problem, and then someone wants to locate in Delhi, in particular area of Delhi, what are all the hospitals which are empaneled, which insurance company, that is also being made available now. This is a platform. This is a platform where the health insurance industry as well as the health provider industry both have to join together and then give us all the support. So we, when we talk of standardization, this is just the beginning. Of course, we expect a huge amount of support and guidance from the Government of India on this, which I am quite sure Joint Secretary Saab will enable, and on that basis, we'll carry this forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Raghavan. So, let's look at the building blocks. We've got a standard pre-authorization form and a standard claim form that was developed in 2008 and notified through the health insurance regulations in 2013. So it at least, maybe, I'm still not sure, but it maybe got rid of the 60 different pre-authorization forms at the hospital level that they were required to retain. So then at that time it was not only minimizing not only digitizing the interface, it was also standardizing the physical paper interface, which was the first challenge we all started working on together in this very group. Now we've got these building blocks of having standardized formats, which the whole industry has adopted and the regulator has notified. We have the electronic health record standards, which actually tell what standards will be used to talk. The same DICOM and HL7 and privacy standards are all built into the standards. We have now got a hospital ID, which will make a whole new level of data analytics possible with these standards, and will have the industry really catapult forward. But what we really need now is action. And I'll just open it up, but I'll start this time with Mr. Chandrasekharan. And sorry for putting you on a spot, but my question is, the industry has so far not been able to do an aggregated action on quality or cost containment. Will it be able to do it for digitization? And then to everybody else on what they see as these building blocks, and then we'll open it up. Thank you.
See, the industry will definitely do it because this project has been funded by the industry. The pilot project we have funded without knowing what is going to come. Now what has come, we'll go ahead and make additional funding that is possible. Also, as part of the revision of the health insurance regulations, the industry members have contributed saying that we are willing to take some of the standardization from the regulation to another area so that the standardization and improvement can keep on happening without waiting for the regulations to get changed. So that's first part of the story. The second part of the story is definitely the mandate will have to come from the regulator for the insurance industry to insist on this electronic format of transfer of claim data. That's the first requirement. And the second requirement, according to me, to indirectly tell the hospitals, you not only become member of that particular registry, but if you want a cashless facility to be given, you may have to fall in line with all these standards that are being prescribed, transfer data, transparency of data, and so on and so forth. So I'm definitely sure that we as industry would like to move forward, not only in providing quick service to the customer, insured patients, etc., to remove in the entire morning session. I was sitting there and listening. Everyone was telling that insurance company is to be blamed for the delay in getting the pre-authorization, in paying only 50%, 60% of the 40% of the amount and not paying the balance, and so on and so forth. All these things will disappear, and we will see products becoming much more fine-tuned to individual insured needs, and that product gets captured in the system, and therefore when the claim comes, it gets admitted, and so on and so forth. I'm definitely seeing that the industry in the next 3-4 years will see a vast change. OPD. If the OPD comes in, how are you going to monitor that sort of a huge amount of claims that are going to come into this? It's only through this system it is possible. Therefore, I can only say and assure you from the industry that we are looking to this standardization and digitization also from a regulatory perspective, but also from our own perspective of making affordable health insurance by reducing the claim costs, making sure that that is what you are supposed to undergo and that's what you have to pay. And that's what we are paying on your behalf.
Thank you. Any other views from the panel on how do we leverage all these building blocks and try to address this divide?
May I? I think, Somil, first to answer your point on why a hotel makes it easy. I think hospitals are a unique service industry where the price of idli changes based on the bed type. That's simple, long and short answer. The bed type decides the tariff structure in most structures. In a hotel, the price of idli, they never ask you which room have you come from. In a hospital, the room decides a lot, and that's why the complexity grows from there. But just coming back, I think the issue of digitization, while standards I think have been a great success for us as a nation, I'm going to create one distinction, and that is the distinction between a claim file and a claim form. A claim form is a summary of what comes in a claim file, and the claim file on average has between 70 and 80 leaves of paper today that decide at each point of care what actually happened. And these are reports, these are summaries, these are discharge summaries, all the way down to various reports in laboratories, imaging, surgical interventions, so on and so forth. And so what does happen is that when you start talking about digitizing the whole process, you're also going to have to solve for what happens to those 70 leaves of paper that come along with the claim file. I think the claim file, you're right, the aggregation above is actually done very well. And I think the standards have helped tremendously. We're not 100% there, but I think we'll get there because now there are standards and the insurers are pushing. They're driving standardization. I think the challenge that I foresee is what happens to that claim file. And as we grow from a structure where it becomes from inpatient to outpatient, we're today accounting for about 0.08 claims per life per year. The West is accounting for 14 claims per life per year because they have outpatient care. Imagine, I don't know how many fold that is, but that is many fold. And you could expect between 30 and 40 billion claims coming through our market, just based on our size. If you thought about a world with 30 billion claims, I think the standards are critical, but more importantly, what you do with that 70 reams of paper which are actually physically moving today.
All the more reason to digitize. Any other panelists would like to react before we open it up?
See, at the end of the day, it's we are looking at standards and metrics. And standards like ICD-10, standards for hospital identification. But then two serious elements of the entire supply chain, perhaps there is some advanced level of progress happening at the Government of India level. when we built this Rohini, we were thinking of the triangle getting completed. You know, the enactment triangle, which will be done and which will be put in place by the government, and the enforcement triangle, which can be done by regulatory bodies and whoever is given the authority to regulate, and enabling agencies like IIB, or it could be anybody else also, NABH or those kind of agencies. The issue is that we have the individual identity, we have the hospital identity with the geocoding, and if the two major components of treatment protocol and cost protocol, if these two are also standardized, I mean, we were part of committees convened by the Health Ministry, wherein there was a huge attempt which went into standardizing, getting a standardization involved as far as the treatment protocol is concerned, and similarly a costing template. If you put these three elements together, the individual identity, the hospital identity, and the hospital delivery standards being defined in a particular way, I think it will help insurers, it will help the patients, it will help anybody, even the hospital themselves. In fact, we right now are carrying out an exercise with the Ministry of Finance, basically on the expenditure level discovery. Out of 1 rupee spent on health, what does go where? You know, these kind of analytics will get further enabled and augmented if these kind of three elements are put together in as quick a time as possible. When we sowed the seeds for Rohini, we were looking 5 years down the line. For any, today e-commerce is a done thing, let it be luxury goods or let it be even mundane things like your groceries. You have a comparison possibility. What brand costs how much where? And on that basis, you are able to pinpoint and conclude the transaction in a matter of seconds, if not minutes. Why don't we look at a scenario where a patient, you have hundreds of patient-doctor relationship portals now, like the Practo, for example. You put all these ingredients together, you have a huge possibility of enhancing even medical tourism in this country. Imagine, you are somebody sitting in California or somebody sitting in Dubai is able to access a portal like Rohini and then locate for this kind of an ailment. These are all the possibilities across various medical capitals within India like Delhi or Hyderabad or Chennai or Bengaluru. And then zero in on a particular hospital, knowing who are all the specialists there, what kind of facilities they offer, and more importantly, what kind of a financial outlay might happen or entail if the person chooses that particular hospital and a particular specialty. Don't you think of a dream world wherein you can conclude a medical appointment for a major ailment just at the click of a button and then walk in? I think that's what we should aim at, and that will have a huge fallout, beneficial fallout for the entire healthcare industry, including the insurers. That's my view.
Thank you, Mr. Raghavan. Excellent point. So if there's no other views from the panel, let's open it up and hear from those who have braved all the presentations and discussions since morning to be here till the fag end of the day. This is your reward. This is your time. Can we have a show of hands and then we'll go and collect a few questions? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
My question is to Mr. Raghavan. Rohini sounds like an amazing project. What I would want to understand or ask you rather is, are you planning to keep the data open? Would it be available to other people through an API, for example?
It's an open portal in the sense that basically it's an exchange, or it's a platform where hospital census is available. When I say census, right now the head count.
Right.
And we have also enabled to address issues of hospital-induced fraud. We have also geotagged all these hospitals. There is a 13-digit globally unique ID following global standards. It's universal, whether it's California or Philippines. The second aspect is the geocode, latitude, longitude, so that hospitals cannot change the avatar and go on carrying out the fraud one after another. Now, hospitals can access this because they are the members of the elite group. Hospital users like insurance companies has access this because not only because they have funded this, but they are the great beneficiaries in terms of the whole deduplication exercise. Thirdly, the public. So depending upon what kind of a user it is, we'll be providing the access. For the public, it's an open access because you are trying to locate a particular hospital for a particular kind of a treatment. For any other commercial entity, it can be open provided there is a genuineness in the request or appeal.
Right. The reason why I was asking is for startups like us, we can think of multiple things that you can actually do on top of that data and enhance the consumer experience. And data in itself will make a lot of sense if it is available or lives on multiple platforms. So while you were saying that your vision for Rohini is for it to be a platform, I would strongly urge you that to make the data available so that people like us can access it and build services on top of it for solving problems which might not be priority for you, right? Things which we see. Right.
We are a body which is put in by the regulator with a high governance standards. And like Joint Secretary Saab was mentioning, there are also privacy issues which, if the government is going to come out with some kind of a workable solution, we'll be able to adopt that. See, what is most important to us is that there is no misuse on a commercial basis. If it's an academic institution or a research institution, so long as the privacy issues are not compromised, okay, I think we'll be able to work with this kind of agencies. Yeah. But only thing is, as of now, it stands, except for the public access for locating a hospital, it stands on an authorized basis. Okay.
No, I just want to add a point. Healthcare industry is still not regulated. We have been asking for a regulatory setup from the government or anybody. But at least we thought from the insurance industry, we would like to regulate hospitals which are dealing with the insurance companies for getting the cashless benefit. That's how the whole thing started. But going forward, every hospital has to get in, enter details, and also may have to pay a small fee before maintaining it. But to what extent it's voluntary. Nobody is going to mandate them to continue to be in the registry. So how much of the information that they are going to put it in, how much of that is going to be useful for us, for people to analyze data, etc. It is too early to talk about it. But hopefully, if the mandate from the government comes, if the mandate from the regulator comes for us to do, I'm sure that this initiative, taken with all sincerity by all stakeholders, that's the most important point, will see that the healthcare industry, health insurance space will see a complete paradigm change. And then we will see, we'll be on top of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekharan.
Yeah.
Was
Good
a
evening.
question from you earlier?
This is Dr. Krishna from Ericsson TPA.
Yeah.
Somil sir, I just want to highlight that one point which you told, that many of the people present here, they must have faced at the time of discharge the delay from the TPA. Sir, the procedural, you can say, delay, it can be either from insurer or the TP or anybody.
It is somewhere, but there is a delay.
Yeah.
Patient, the discharged patient perceives it.
Yes. Sir, reason is there, you compare with the hotel industry where the people don't make to wait and immediately. But sir, there is also one situation where the receptionist, they say, sir, please wait, your minibar check is going on. And there they have to wait for another 5 minutes. So here what happened, as Dr. Vikram say, there are 70 to 80 pages which have to be studied. And at the final time of discharge, where the patient is waiting, so hospital is waiting for his final authorization. That final authorization have to be properly calculated, and then the inclusion or exclusion, payable, non-payable, have to be calculated. So at the time of final billing, when the bill comes from the hospital for the final process, the patient is for the discharge and this is the final documents and the bill. So sometimes, as the sir said, the volume of the claims which is coming for the process, definitely it will take some time. It depends upon the days and duration of the hospitalization. If it is just a 2 or 3 days hospitalization, the process gets over within 5 or 10 or 15 minutes also. But if suppose a complicated case and the patient has been hospitalized for over weeks or a month, then certainly it takes some more time to calculate the whole things and give the final authorization. But there is a panic which comes to the patient So for that, as a TPA, what we have come that we are sending a SMS to the claimant that your so-and-so procedure or the final authorization has been done and you can contact with the hospital. So this digitization and, getting in touch, talk to me, the point which came. So as a TPA, sir, we are continuously trying to be in touch with the claimant, talking with them and giving them the update informations. Thank you.
So thank you, and many of us fully understand that process. What I don't understand is where the problem lies. When we all know, in most cases, when the patient will be discharged, probably a day before or longer than that, we know that this patient is going to be discharged. There are very few cases where discharge is sudden and unplanned. And when we know that it can be planned, why are we not ready for it? I'm not saying that we need to find an answer now. That's the question that is haunting us for 15 years. And we will not solve it in the last 5 minutes of this session.
Sir, absolutely.
But let me just complete.
Yeah.
But my second point is, if there are 70 or 80 pages that we have to study, why can't they be digitized beforehand and studied while we are doing it? In 2008, I was the convener of an IRDA committee on TPAs. And the committee suggested that we do 1 day prior to discharge, a pre-discharge pre-authorization. And a lot could have been done out of the 70 pages, maybe 65 could have been handled, and the patient would have been better off. I'm not saying where the problem lies. The problem could be at the TPA, it could be at the hospital, it could be just that we haven't sit together and found a solution. But the problem exists, and we need to find a solution together. We don't have to find it now, but the patient shouldn't be made to wait. If the patient is willing to wait 5 minutes for a minibar check or a last minute canteen check or a last minute laboratory check, that's fine. But why are we making him wait for hours and hours? And that's unfair, which we need to find a solution. And this is part of the problem why the insurer perceives pain points. I'm getting delayed. I still get a deduction. We have to find something that makes life easier for him. And let's work together on that solution. Let's take the third question. No, the third one, which was raised before.
Yeah. I would like to reiterate the point that you made, Dr. Somel, which was left unanswered in my view, which is how are we going to get all the pieces together? That means we could hear Mr. Raghavan's Rohini project, and we could hear many parts of the puzzle and the conundrum, the problems that we've been hearing repeatedly. But is there an overarching architecture for bringing all this together at the Government of India level or at the industry level? Otherwise, without an overarching architecture, where do these pieces come together? And Mr. Sunil Sharma, would you like to respond to that?
Can I just add to that? I had the same question about how we're going to implement it in all the hospitals. Are we going to have a universal program that would allow hospitals and the insurance to have exchange? Is there going to be some sort of a software that's going to be at all the hospitals? And also, are we going to have this at rural levels as well? Because it's so difficult there to create, they don't have internet like I mentioned yesterday. So I'm just curious how it's going to work. I used to work in health IT in US and I know the challenges, and I'm just curious how you're going to do that. Thanks.
Little background also, because though this is for basically pertaining to and focusing on the plight of the customer with respect to insurance. But much bigger issue that Ministry of Health, Government of India is contemplating and moving forward also to address is that a patient's health records, his medical history and his total life history of the medical records, which is called health record, that is available on the net. So he has that flexibility, and there is a ease of availability of records for him across the hospitals, across the service providers in the health sector. So with that focus in mind, what we are moving forward to is creating an integrated health information platform, which I spoke about in my opening remarks. The platform visualizes to provide a registry and also a kind of, let's say every hospital will get registered, will have a number. We are in the process of generating unique numbers for all health facilities for the public sector for the present, in the government sector. And then we, with the same thing, we will intend to generate NIN number for the private service providers also, different hospitals. What Mr. Raghavan said, he has 32,562 on board already who provide insurance cover. So one would look at the government departments and organizations joining hand to kind of create some kind of regulation so that everybody is on board with one unique number on this platform. And we intend to also make it open source so that your question gets answered there, that you could be developing software or you could be culling out the data for us for in a centralized fashion for being used, of course, with privacy concerns by insurance service providers, by different medical professionals. For example, Apollo Hospital sharing data with another hospital in Mumbai, let's say Tata Memorial, or a third hospital elsewhere, or at a broader level, because internationally the standards are already set and in the process of expansion of adoption. 27 countries have joined IHTS-DO standards. That is called SNOMED-CT. SNOMED-CT is basically an abbreviation for standards nomenclature for medical and technical and clinical terminology. So those already set. If 27 countries have joined, a person who is taking treatment in US today, if he wants to come, let's say, to Apollo Hospital, his electronic record may be readily available on the platform. So with this lookout, when we are looking at a broader picture, I shared with you because I'm not looking at only providing insurance cover, but looking at much broader picture where a particular citizen has the ease of keeping his records electronically for the whole of his life history, one. Second, those records, as per his desire and wish, can be shared by different health providers. And third, also very important for Government of India, the vast data that would become available after its privacy concerns are handled, after it is delinked from a particular person by way of removing the identity. It can be aggregated to study disease pattern, to handle issues at a much broader level at the national level. So these are the separate concerns, but as a byproduct of it, let these records be also available for insurance companies. Let these also be shared. Let's say hospital wants to share some record with the insurer, service provider. So seamlessly that would be feasible because standards are set. It was spoken about that there are some 800 to 1,000 odd procedures which would cover probably 90% of the health expenditure on health. So if those procedures are standardized, if their cost is also specifically determined, it will be different for each hospital, but if the procedures are standardized, then it will become so much easier for the insurance industry also to know, okay, this is the procedure which has been performed, so this is what we are going to reimburse. So one would look at broader standardization at global level and at each, in complete detail, the complete clinical procedures, the clinical terms which are used, everything gets standardized. So as hospitals get roped in this, so they get the benefit in terms of ease of interaction with insurance service provider. Insurance service provider demands in a particular format, so hospitals have to join those. So I think we have to join hands together. So the big question, how things integrate, how the jigsaw puzzle, how the pieces come together. I hope this would answer in partly to this question. Yeah.
Any time
Well, I
frames
just
on
wanted
that?
to
Any
add
time
to-
frames that you would like to mention? What progress is there? What kind of time frames do you see to this vision?
Regarding time frame, few things which have happened I will share in this forum. one, Government of India has taken the license for SNOMED City, number one. Number two, for its national release, about a year ago, one organization of Government of India, it's called CDAC. CDAC has been appointed as National Release Center for SNOMED City. About 80 odd hospitals have already joined. Join means, because taking license means any Indian operator, health service provider does not have to pay anything for using that particular SNOMED City structure. So it's good for us, we want to encourage it, so this part we have done. I think yesterday also some session SNOMED City was spoken about. So it's a kind of propagating, taking it forward, because a critical mass also has to come. Unless good number of hospitals and service provider, health service providers join in, the real advantage is not going to come. So when that critical mass comes, then expansion would take place. That is one. Second is, the attempt is to create that infrastructure, IT infrastructure, by way of facilitating the registry, by way of facilitating exchange of information. And it will be a kind of platform where the approach would be that it will, a particular, we will also rope in some private vendors who can become the intermediary to create specific applications for individual hospitals as well. So that is the idea. So it is at that stage, conceptual stage for now, but we are hoping to move forward soon, maybe in about 3 months' time, with some kind of budget allocation for this IHIP activity, right? Okay.
I just wanted to add, Mr. Sharma, you talked about, this is here, Shobha, about costing, guidelines, and actually under the health ministry we have worked. In fact, Somil was also part of that working group. So we had developed certain, templates for the costing, and some bit of rationalization of treatment protocols were also done. But that's, kind of still lying pending at the ministry's end. Somil, you have any idea?
Personally, you have idea, because I am not really dealing.
So we need
with
to
that
actually
aspect.
go back to the drafting board and, pick the threads which we left some time back. It's been a year now, but a lot of work has gone in.
Okay.
And even just to give a historical, I won't talk about that specifically because that's not Mr. Sharma's sort of portfolio, but just to give you background, even the EHR standards, the group I think worked for 3.5 years, and it was very aggressive and dynamic leadership from ministry that led to the closure and issuance of the notification. So it always needs a champion at the ministry to take many things forward, and I'm glad that we have Mr. Sharma championing the cause of e-health, and I hear that the National E-Health Authority would also be sort of
soon. Yeah, that part we may put. We're also in the process of creating National E-Health Authority, which would take care of these issues, which will address regulation part, which will address the propagation part, and which would also kind of be the exchange, will control the exchange of information, because security, the privacy issues are very, very critical for us. So it has to be in the hands of one of the government or semi-government body in that manner. So that will be there.
So Mr. Raghavan has Rohini and you have Neha. Okay, let's take that as the last question, and then we'll request.
Okay, it's not a question, it's a comment. I'm Dr. Karanveer Singh. I'm the Chief Medical Information Officer for Apollo Hospital Group. So I was listening to basically all the problems that have been propounded today, and this is what the banking industry was about 40, 50 years back, and what railways was about 20, 30 years back. Basically, poor workflows because of lack of IT integration. Now, I'm not saying that the IT is at fault, it is the standards which are at fault. The problem is that we are mandating standards which, although they are part of the EHR standard list, but these standards were not designed for the purpose that they're being used. So if you look at ICD-10, it's actually an epidemiological reporting standard for reporting of diseases to study epidemiological patterns. It's not meant for insurance. If you look at the procedure classification, ICD-10 PCS, ICD-10 PCS basically never took off because it's a classification that if you look at it, if I have to code, for instance, I'm excising a tumor in the brain, the code is excision of brain. If I'm going to code that I have removed a AV malformation from the brain, the code is excision of brain. Now, those sort of codes hospitals cannot relate to. And these sort of codes, when they come to the insurer, they don't make sense. Because if he's going to have to read what is written in text to really understand what it is, rather than look at the code which doesn't make sense, the systems break down. So there are newer standards. These are old, antiquated. Let's leave them for what they're meant to be. We need to move over, and yesterday I had conducted that SNOMED workshop, and there I had shown how SNOMED actually overcomes all the problems, and how SNOMED is really good for a completely seamless flow right from the clinician's desk screen in the OT or on the ward, right up to the insurer. Because he can enter the exact operation that he has done, which can be very complex operation, and system automatically translates and shows the insurers the terms that he wants and the terms against which he has put prices. And he can, the entire structure of SNOMED is that. And that, I think, is the way forward. Now, you may say, oh, why haven't other countries done that? SNOMED is something which is new. SNOMED is something which is being used at a country level only in 2-3 countries. So if you look at the NHS is the most advanced SNOMED in the world. NHS doesn't need insurance. They have government cover. If you look at US uses CPT. They have used CPT from before SNOMED really came out. They don't need SNOMED. But countries like us, we don't have an option. And SNOMED is perfectly workable. And yesterday, in fact, I hope that the people who attended the workshop really went away with the impression that yes, SNOMED will work, and SNOMED will solve a lot of problems that we are saying, how will we solve it, how will we solve it? And what I would request, sir, is that if we can have a focus group from the insurance industry that just studies SNOMED, looks at SNOMED and says, okay, doable, not doable, I'm sure it is doable. How are we going to do it? We are actually going to have the biggest breakthrough that we have had in the last 20 years on actually getting the insurance industry to work, the computerization to work.
Thank you. And at least that confirms that the government of India made a very wise investment last year by taking the nationwide SNOMED license, which we all were very happy and delightfully a part of. The second part it confirms is that the solutions that you mentioned, who will do it, all those people are in this room, either on the dais or in front of the dais. But the people who can do it together are all here. And I think we have to find that solution together, and the solution is not too far to be found in a country that claims to be the IT champion for the world and would like to also be seen as a healthcare champion for the world. We already produce one of the most affordable healthcare, high quality healthcare in the world, and why can't we make it seamless in terms of its IT enablement also? And incidentally, the EHR standard actually says SNOMED over ICD, but I do have a difference on ICD not being a payment standard because DRGs are being used until you have better options available. So,
yeah, just adding one more point to it.
We'll take the monologue.
Okay, just adding one sentence more, that the amount of granularity that we can capture with SNOMED allows automated fraud detection. We should not rely on catching the person red-handed or the hospital reporting it. The hospital will not. Fraud
and the people who will enable it all together. We just need to now get working on it. On that note, I hand it over back to the chair for the concluding remarks.
Thank you. It was really interesting, informative and educative discussion, and also I feel I would say motivated by your comment. I was happy to note that there are a good number of votaries. Of course, the way you have forcefully spoken about, you have probably gone in detail about as to what it offers. Talking about ICD, yes, ICD was primarily being used for kind of looking at the disease profile and across the kind of in a GIS manner. So the focus was not on the insurance. It was not. But SNOMED CT, wherever it is being used, it is also being used for the purpose of insurance. Howsoever, if you, what you suggested is a good suggestion that we could go in for some kind of group which can look at SNOMED city and indicate what could be thought additionally over it, or some changes or something is required. What in any case we are doing is we are having developing tools. What we call tools is the mapping part, because what happens is some diseases are region specific, geography specific, so which may not be fully getting covered in SNOMED city. So that kind of thing also being done. Of course, the whole lot of discussion that gone about, focus certainly for today has been on the customer, the patient, or the insurer who has taken health insurance. How to facilitate, how to make his job easier, how he does not require to wait for his release. I mean, it's a very tricky thing that. But if you look at his plight, he has undergone through a disease and has probably come out of it or partly come out of it, and then he has to go through this pain of having to clear the bills and then find that there is this divide, so there are delays, that kind of discomfort that comes to that man. The whole focus has been on that. And it was interesting in this, what has been shared is that there are so many things getting done from the insurance company side, from the insurance regulator side, from Government of India side. Of course, we look forward to really pushing it and kind of moving ahead in a fashion so that it really comes fast, and this plight of the customer at the end point, who is most important for us, that gets tackled in a way so that he feels happy about it. Of course, we all have to really work together, the insurance regulator, the insurance companies, the health facilities. Unless they come forward, SNOMED city will just lie in paper, or some government structure will get created, but nothing will move. No benefit will come through. So I would exhort at this point of time to all present here and the communities they belong to, that professional communities, that hospitals who are service providers, the insurance companies who are again service providers, the regulators and the government agencies should really come forward to adopt the infrastructure or the kind of ecosystem that the government is proposing to create. And with these words, I would thank for inviting me here. And also, I think we need to interact more, all of us. I just came and I may be going today, but I would like to certainly be in touch with all of you here. And very good ideas have come. Frankly, I was not familiar with what problem the person faces when he takes health insurance, because being from government, we just don't bother about it. All facilities we use of government only, so and no payment to be made. So it's good that first hand those kind of things have come across, and the concerns, and that the people are very well aware and informed on those issues and trying to address it. It's a very happy situation. Happy to the extent that yes, we should be moving forward. And let us look forward to making it a happy situation for the end customer. Thank you.
So please give a big round of applause. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us. And just give me 5 minutes so that I can conclude the conference. 9 years back, 9 or 10 years back, I think when we started looking at, health insurance, I remember, and Somil was part of that meeting, when we were worried about putting the insurers and the providers together in the same room, and TPAs were completely no. It took us about a couple of years when we said, okay, fine, now we can probably, we've now developed the understanding between the insurers and the providers, so that they cannot exist without each other's existence. So let's now bring in the TPAs. It took us almost 8 years, 9 years to actually have the guts to get the consumer on board. But I think we've come a long, long way. And in the morning I said that it is truly a PPP, a public-private platform. So we had the insurers, the providers, the TPAs, the consumers, the regulator, and the health ministry. And I think we've had very rich deliberations today. There have been, they have been solution oriented, and I'm sure the committee is going to take up these suggestions that have been, that has come out of your discussions, your questions, and we are going to take it up with the regulator, with the health ministry, and go forward and again come back next year with another conference for another deliberations. Thank you so much. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all speakers. We've had some really good speakers this time. They were young, they were experienced, they were from the digital world, they were from the traditional insurance and healthcare world. And last but not the least, the audiences. If you were not here and you were not participating the way you have done yesterday and today, I think this conference wouldn't have been successful. And I would also like to thank my team that has put up this conference and the sponsors. So a very big round of applause to all of us. And we meet next year. Thank you so much.